Hi guys, nice to see you again. Now, everybody knows that property, it's great to find a home if you're near public transportation. And the public transportation that everybody seems to be talking about right now is the MRT. What's happening with it? So we want to know everything that can be told to us with regards to this MRT project. So with that in mind, we have the Chairman of REHDA KL, Mr. NK Tong, who is going to answer all my questions for him. Hi NK, nice to see you again.
You too.
Now, simple question to begin with. Tell me everything you know about the MRT project.
Okay, the KL MRT project, I know as much as you do. I mean, it's been fairly public, the information's out there, so I wouldn't claim to be an expert in the KL MRT project per se. But, you know, looking around the world, I've been traveling, you do get a feel for the potential for this project.
Okay, where are we right now with it?
Well, as you know, they've already mapped out the first line, and now they're in the process of putting it together, the tenders, and also negotiating, I think, with some landowners that happen to be along the way. So I think it's coming along quite nicely. And, you know, looking to start up, I think they're exploring the layout for future lines as well, which is good.
Clearly, it's only natural that it benefits the people to actually have greater public transportation. But what does it do to the property market?
Okay, I think, that's the million-dollar question. Everyone's wondering how is the impact. And what I've noticed, actually, of course, there will be some uplift in value, because if you used to be, say, 30 minutes away from the city because of traffic, and now with the MRT you can hop on and say, cut the travel time by half. I mean, that's fantastic. So people can then say, you know, location instead of 30 minutes from KL, 15 minutes from KL. So obviously there's a value to being central. But I think it's also not just in relation to the city centre, but this connectivity to the whole neighbourhood. So I think that is the key to unlocking this equation. It's not just about where the MRT is, but how do you get from there to the neighbourhoods, right? With the buses or pedestrian walks. And
well, that's to me that is a million-dollar question, because integration is a big part of a good public transportation system. Whereas in places like in Paris and London or any other big cities in the world, you actually have one system going around, different suppliers, different modes of transportation, but you generally know how to get from one point to another because the entire system is integrated. So what do you know about the integration of our system?
Well, I think you know, DBKL is working very hard to make sure that works in the city, and then of course Selangor around it. But we already, you know, the City Hall has already worked on some covered walkways. They're looking at increasing it to, I think, maybe 20 to 25 kilometers worth of pedestrianized walkways that will connect the city. I think that will help with some of the MRT. On the outer skirts, it really relies on some public transportation. And I think thirdly, a change in mindset of the Malaysians. Okay. We have to start walking. Okay. You know, maybe in some parts of the world, you know, 400-500 meters it's acceptable. Maybe in KL it's half the distance. We have to be prepared to walk a little bit further and realize the benefits of public transport to save us in overall travel time. Yeah, so I think that is the key, to look at the overall travel time.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about this walking bit here. I'm all for walking. I used to live overseas as well, and I know that, you know, walking can only do you wonders, and it's actually quite pleasant. Over here, fine, we have to deal with the weather, but you know what, we've dealt with it since we were born, and that shouldn't really be a big problem. But what is a big problem is that KL is not really a walking city. You don't have walkways. Not enough of it, at least from where we see. And Astro Awani is right in the middle of town, so we know where we can and where we cannot walk. Can that be dealt with?
Yes, well, I can't speak on behalf of DBKL, although we have been working closely with them. And I do understand that Datuk Banda and his team, they've been very much focused on making it a more pedestrian-friendly neighbourhood. Now, you know, with the introduction of the MRT, we're not going to get it right the first time. It's going to evolve. But what's nice is, when we have that many people using it, we will start to surface the issues that need to be resolved faster and faster.
Feedback.
Yeah, feedback. You know, about almost 2 years ago, the Ministry of Kuala Lumpur, led by the Minister, Datuk Raja Nonchik, took a delegation to Seoul and Tokyo, and also on another trip we visited Hong Kong, and we met up with the MTR. And you know, the people there shared with us the history of the development of the MTR in Hong Kong. And in the 70s, when they had to lay these MTR lines, there's a lot of controversy. You know, homeowners, landowners, they're fighting, they're saying, look, disruption of business, the inconvenience, the noise. But you know, you fast forward 20, 30 years, and they really appreciate that the government pushed through that. So it's a bit of a dilemma. We want it, but not in our backyard initially, but once it's complete, it's great. So really, I think we'll have to go through the growing pains. Whether it's the construction, whether it's the acquisition, even the location of stations can be controversial. And of course, like you mentioned, the pedestrian connectivity. But all that, I think, will evolve over time. And you look around the world, there's so many examples of mass transit systems that have succeeded. And maybe not initially, but over time have evolved.
Well, over time, even places like London have problems. It's not a perfect system. And they've been around for well over 100 years, the trains.
1860, I think.
A long time. But you've mentioned an interesting point there. You know, there are challenges that the people that is going to impose this will face. Let's try to, you know, put a name to these challenges. You know, let's talk a little bit about some of the major challenges that will be faced by both the developers of the project as well as the general consumers.
I guess. Again, you know, I'm not speaking on their behalf, but I try and put myself in their shoes. If you were building the system, there'll be issues of costs, public opinion, you know, how to get that over with, and timing. I think it's easier to understand it from a consumer point of view. The traffic may get worse before it gets better for two reasons. One, more and more cars are coming on the road, and two, we're going to have to close some of those to build the MRT. The more micro issues with some landowners or homeowners who happen to be in the way, I mean, those they will have to sit and negotiate with the authorities in terms of how they're going to be compensated or relocated, etc. But I think at the end of the day, everyone on both sides will say whether they'll argue whether it's been fair to them or not. I think more important about whether, because a lot of people think fair is equal. It's not. You know, it may be that some people benefit more than others, but what's more important is there's a fair process. And if it's transparent, you know, disputes can be resolved amicably or through arbitration or whatever, then that's more important. The outcome itself, you know, it's the city that really is the main beneficiary, and there may be some winners or losers along the way. It's not going to be a perfect system, but I don't think there's any one system in the world, any MRT system in the world that's happened just like that.
Definitely not. But one thing that must be focused on and given a lot of attention to is planning, and planning properly. KL, unfortunately, is known to have roads that change directions every 2 weeks, and you know, it's only because there are so many things happening, which means it's getting more exciting to be in KL. But then if you look at places like Singapore, okay, fine, if you can't do it above ground, you do it underground, and you have, you know, entire mazes, and the entire thing process from the very beginning to the end is well planned. Are we having a similar model?
Maybe not exactly like Singapore, but I think you know, in the end,
quality of planning.
It will be left to be seen, both in terms of the execution phase and finally the delivery. But I think today we, as a city, have access to the same quality of consultants that other cities get worldwide. So as long as we're open and we continue to evolve and get the best feedback that we can, I think we're right. Personally, I'm probably more optimistic in the sense that I'd rather have an MRT system in KL than not to have one. So that already means it's going to be a bonus when we complete it. You know, in terms of I think the cost to the consumer, the price tag, all that, you have to just weigh. And as we become more cosmopolitan, we have to weigh up our time value of money. You know, we can stand there and queue forever for a taxi, or we can get stuck in jams. Those are hours wasted. I've personally been in Shanghai before, where I can travel across half of Shanghai, and I can know that if I'm going to leave after my lunch at 12:10, I can be in a particular location at, 2:10, I can be in a particular location at 2:30. And if I can time it down to that 20 minutes, have my 1 hour meeting, and then get back to another place in another half an hour, it's very easy to set up 6 appointments a day. But in KL, if I don't have that, I can only afford maybe 3 or 4 because the moment it rains, I've lost an hour.
Yeah. The moment it rains, KL shuts down.
Shuts down.
It's something that we should all be looking forward to. It can only mean better energy flow, if anything, within the city itself. And yes, there will be lots of difficulties that one would face. But you know, at the end of it all, the benefit will be to the city, as you said. What do you think is the most significant impact that having a good transportation system will bring to the city?
I think it's just reliability. You know, just like I said, and it's not just about business. I mean, okay, I had 6 meetings instead of 4 meetings or 3 meetings. I can quantify that. But what about getting home half an hour or an hour earlier to see the family? What is that worth to you? Yeah. It's priceless. Yes, the 40+ billion price tag is going to be huge, but at the end of the day, each one of us, if we can make use of it and benefit in our own small way, it's just going to be priceless. And to add that total value up, I think in the end, it really does make sense.
Right.
You know, today it may seem like a tough call and a challenge to push it through, but eventually, how does this benefit society? Yes, tangibly increased business, more efficient, but just time to be with your family, time to do more recreation, a lot of different benefits, intangible ones, and I think the intangible ones are more exciting.
But I can't remember where Malaysia stands in the happiness ranking because there is such a thing and there has been studies done, but I'm sure after the MRT system has been launched and is fully operational, we're probably going to go up in the scale.
Well,
everybody's going to have more smiles.
You have a choice. Am I going to sit in traffic for 45 minutes and get frustrated? Or am I going to enjoy my newspaper taking the 15-minute ride home knowing that I'm going to have happy faces waiting to see me?
From my perspective, it tells me that you're going to definitely have time to go home by 9:30 p.m. to catch us on In Reality. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always nice to have you on the show. Well, that's it for me in the first segment. As usual, second and third segment, you are with Lina Wati Anand. Stay with us on In Reality.